Slimes, I hope we're all settled here and ready for a really great time. Turn off your mobiles and turn on your good comedy radar, because we really have got some fabulous polemic here. Please, put it together with a loud Glasgowian. Don't punch me in the geggy for this, for Mr. Stewart Lee!
1, 2, 3, look at Mr. Lee, 3, 4, 5, look at King George, Mr. Lee, 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 Mr. Lee,
So, on September the 11th, 2001... I was actually on holiday, right? That seems distasteful now. But I wasn't to know at the time. You know, I didn't plan it. The holiday, I mean, not the attacks. And I was actually in the city of Granada in southern Spain, right? It's an interesting place. Granada was kind of the last point of Muslim occupation of medieval Europe. It's still a very mixed city. Lots of mosques, lots of churches, lots of Arab Spaniards and white European Spaniards all getting on fine. And I was walking around there on 9/11, the 9th of November, reclaim the calendar. We invented those dates. I was walking around there on the 9th of November, 9/11, and I went into a little Spanish bar. And on television there was all this film of buildings on fire and things falling down and people running around screaming. And I said to the barman, "Where's that?" In Spanish, "Donde está?" And he said, "Nuevo Eureka." And I thought, oh, it's in Colombia or somewhere, it doesn't matter. And then I watched for a bit longer Glasgow, and I realised that it was New York, where English-speaking people live. And therefore a terrible, newsworthy tragedy. And I don't know if you remember, do you remember the planes flying into the World Trade? Because we got that on the news in London, I don't know if you had it here. And I don't want to make any assumptions, you know. And so I was watching that in this Spanish bar, and then George Bush came on the television news, and he said, "We are going to get them folks what done this." And that annoyed me for two reasons. One, because it was grammatically inaccurate. And secondly, because you could already see the terrible kind of cultural fallout of what this was going to mean. There was suddenly a horrible tension between the Arab Spaniards and the white European Spaniards in this previously happy bar. And after a while, I couldn't stand the tension anymore. So I went into the gents to do a wee. And a couple of people over there sniggered at the word "we." That's fine. I know this is a tense subject to open with, and I'm happy that the word "we" has helped diffuse the atmosphere a bit. So I was standing there in this Spanish bar on the 9th of November doing a wee out of my cot. And it was yellow. Smelt of a wee. And while I was doing it, this thing happened that happens when you get a bit older, where when you kind of release the pressure on the front sphincter, the back sphincter kind of loosens off of its own accord, you know. And while I was there, this Arab guy came and he stood next to me, but I didn't make eye contact with him because I was embarrassed about the we and world news events, but you know, while I was there, because I was a bit older, the front sphincter slackened off, the back sphincter went of its own accord, and suddenly a little fart came out. Right? But it was only a really tiny fart, like the kind of fart a vole might do, or anaphreo. It was a fart that smelt mainly of hair and was comprised principally of ideas. But it was a fart nonetheless, and the Arab guy, he heard the fart. And he looked across at me, and I looked back at him, and he laughed, and then I laughed, and I realised everything was going to be okay. And then I went back into the bar. By now the situation was even worse, even more tense. The room had kind of split along racial, religious lines. There was a horrible tension in the room. And then suddenly Colin Powell went on the television. We invented those names. He's not Colin the Barbarian. His name's Colin. He should be running a photocopier repair workshop. Colin Powell went on television on the 9th of November, Spanish bar, and he said, "We are going to launch a crusade against them folks what done this." And being in a largely Muslim town full of murals of crusaders cutting the heads off Muslims, you realise what an inappropriate word crusade was to use. On the 9th of November, it went down really badly. And as a world statesman, Colin Powell should be aware of how words change their meaning, kind of culturally. Saying crusade on the 9th of November, it's a bit like if I were to get a job as a maths teacher, teaching maths in a German town somewhere near Belsen, and I was to say to the kids, I'm going to set you a maths problem, I want you to work through it, and on the last page, fill in your final solution. You know, it'd be received badly. And as a world leader, Colin Powell should be aware of these kind of cultural shifts in language. But he said crusade, and it went down really badly from the room. Suddenly it was an even worse atmosphere than before. And then the Arab guy that I'd had my kind of moment of epiphany, of kind of human trust with in the toilets, he was sitting just in front of me, and he looked across at me with these eyes full of hope, as if to go, what are we going to do? And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I couldn't just do another fart at will. You know, I'm not a 19th century French music hall entertainer. I'm the opposite of that. In 4 main ways that there isn't time to go into now. And someone went, disappointed there. If you seek me out afterwards, I'll clarify the exact position. But I knew I had to do something, so it was my moment. So what I did was I just kind of lifted my leg up like that. And I sort of acted it out. I went, fuck, smell, horrible. And he laughed. And the guys he was with laughed. Gradually, the laughter spread all around the room. There was a critic from The Independent on Sunday at the back, not laughing. But he didn't really get what I was doing, you know. It was kind of a mixture of the sacred and the profane. It just went over his head. But eventually, everyone in the room was laughing, and I realised that with that one inane, puerile, scatological gesture, I had achieved more for world peace than any politician had all day. Because farts are funny, Glasgow, right? That is the international baseline of all humour, farts, right? And you can be as sophisticated as you like, Glasgow, but at the end of the day, you have to admit farts are funny. And you go, no, we don't actually agree with you, Stu. I saw a hilarious satirical cartoon in the New Statesman at the weekend, satirising EU farming policies. It was hilarious. Was it as funny as a fart? No, it wasn't. But I saw Ian Hislop on television at the weekend, Stu, satirising the government with his voice, going up at the start of a sentence and then down at the end. It was hilarious. Was it as funny as some gas that smells of shit coming out of an arse? No, it wasn't. And nothing Ian Hislop ever says or does or secretly imagines will be as funny as that. And I ran this show in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, right, in August. And every year in Edinburgh, they have a prize for comedy, right, organised by Perrier, the Perrier Awards. Perrier, of course, owned by Nestlé. Nestlé, top of the World Health Organisation list of unethical companies. It's suggested that their milk marketing policies contribute to the death of 1.5 million children every year. So, every time you laugh at a Perrier-nominated act, a little baby dies. Bear that in mind. And every year in Edinburgh, they always give that award to comedy to a human being speaking about some stuff. But if they had any integrity, they would give the Perrier Award to the genuinely funniest thing that's going to happen in Edinburgh all August, which is just going to be an old Scottish tramp doing a fart in a wood. But, Glasgow, if a tramp farts in a forest and no one hears it, is it still funny? Yes, it is. Because it's some gas that smells of shit coming out of an arse. And if the Perrier had any integrity, which they don't, they would give that Perrier Award to comedy to a fart. And if Channel 4 had any integrity, which they don't, they would sign up that fart for its own 12-part Channel 4 comedy series deal. Some laughs, some doubt in the room. People are going, we're kind of with you, theoretically.